You know, every coffee shop, every restaurant, every radio station, every newspaper, every old fan, new fan of the NHL, there was so much buzz about Patrick Roy coming out, literally, and saying he wanted to be the new Montreal GM. Even I did a podcast on yesterday, and it's the number one trending podcast in my channel, and I appreciate my Montreal fans, but realistically, how close do you think is Jeff Molson and the Montreal Canadiens be to making Patrick Roy the new GM? Well, let's put this in perspective. If Patrick Roy can get in the door, which is pretty tough because his ego's quite big, he probably couldn't fit through the door. What would he do in Montreal in the short term? Would he rejig the team in his image? Would he try to compensate for the fact he was traded by Montreal in that famous deal with Colorado, which sent him packing out of town, which almost led him to a quarter century not being affiliated with the team that made him? It's hard to tell. Will the media in Quebec finally decide, can the media in Quebec, both Francophone and Anglophone, TSN and otherwise, deal with King Patrick running the Habs? Here's the deal. The NHL is not just a regional league anymore, not provincial, not just Canadian. You have to sell the NHL on various different means. The Montreal Canadiens were a hard sell last year, not because they overachieved in the NHL. Most of the mainstream fans of the NHL worldwide don't really relate to the new Canadiens because there's no Guy Lafleur, no Ken Dryden, no Larry Robinson. It's not like the elite team it was. It's going to take literally about 2 decades to rebuild up the team to an annual contender. Tampa Bay has that mantle of the Montreal Canadiens right now because in the last number of years, with all due respect to the other teams in the league, Tampa Bay has found a way to win with all the new players they brought in. Now, Patrick Roy from 86 to the time we left Montreal was the heart and soul of the Habs. They couldn't have had those 3 Stanley Cup appearances, all that success in the regular season and playoffs without him. But do we need a trip on memory lane? Because you can't go back to what the Habs were in the 1980s because, as you know, Bob Gainey's no longer there. Matt Snassen, all the big role players, the big defenders, Bobby Smith, players like that. You should try to build up the team first through drafting and scouting. Maybe get a good college or what do you call Quebec major or junior hockey coach or manager to help rebuild the team. You can find somebody, and you got to throw the language out of the window. You can get translators. That's no problem here. But you look at people like Gordie Dwyer, who's a bilingual Acadian from the North Shore of New Brunswick with roots in southern New Brunswick. He can be brought in as an assistant GM. There's various means you can get that the linguistic aspect doesn't have to be considered. Do you want to win or do you want to speak French when you lose? Think about this. I think most francophones in Quebec want Montreal to win. They can always read the subtitles or hear the translation in the press conferences, and that's what needs to be done. I don't think Patrick Roy is headed to Montreal, be a new GM. If he is, he might be involved with Montreal in some other factor, as maybe a first vice president. I say bring him in, but not as GM. Bring him in as a consultant, like Glen Sather was with the Rangers. Now that's another person that nobody's talking about. I think Glen Sather would be a good fit with Montreal, but the problem is he's too old. He's almost 80. How old do you have to be now to when you quit in the NHL? We're seeing more and more coaches and GMs last into their 70s and in some cases into their 80s, and the NHL needs some good news after the Chicago scandal and different stuff. Now, Patrick Roy, again, very good in the queue over the last number of years with the Rampire, but like I said, he's volatile, he's also bad in certain situations, and he's not politically correct. As bad as Don Cherry is on the Anglo side, Patrick Roy got that misdirected fire on the Francophone side. But like I said, we should know, in my personal opinion, by the first week of Christmas, how this all going to, the week before Christmas, how is all going to play out, like the 18th. So right now, the odds are for me, Daniel Briere is high up the level. Patrick Roy is like a 40-to-1 shot, but like most horse races throughout the years, 40-to-1 shots tend to win sometimes. So for me, Daniel Briere or Glen Sather, or a combination of both. Thanks for listening, and keep your stick on the ice. Bye.